Hey guys, welcome. It's Billy. This week we are talking about overcoming fear, and I guess it is appropriate. I did not plan it this way, but it's appropriate given what's just happened, not only in Paris, but apparently in other places. I think Lebanon, there was an explosion, there was a terrorist attack, etc., things like that. But we're just made more aware when it hits closer to home. And so God does not want us to live in fear. He wants us to overcome fear. And we really don't have to live in fear if we're living from heaven to earth. If we're living with this picture and this understanding in our mind that the battle is not against Ephesians 6, flesh and blood, but against the principalities and the evil things that we cannot see. And so we're talking about Joshua this week. We're going to use the life of Joshua to talk about overcoming fear. And right now we're in chapter 17, and we're looking at verses 8 through 16, chapter 17 of Exodus. Exodus 17, 8 through 16. Read that as I'm talking or after I talk if you want to. But here's the quick takeaways. This is the first time Moses had led the people of Israel out of slavery, out of Egypt. He had done the 10 different plagues. He had parted the Red Sea. He'd made manna and quail fall down from heaven to feed them. I mean, God had done all this through Moses, and now they're facing an army and an enemy for the first time as a new nation or as a freed nation. And Moses commands Joshua to get the army together and to go fight these people. But what Joshua finds out is as long as Moses has his hands up, they're going to win. When Moses' hands fall down, they lose. And throughout the day, Moses' hands are either up or down because he gets tired. And so Joshua experiences in the midst of the battle, on the battlefield, victory, defeat. And that's what happens in our lives, doesn't it? That our lives are not just victory. It goes victory, defeat, 3 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward. And I believe God wanted him to experience, I know God wanted him to experience that. God wanted him to see in a very tangible, real, clear way, Joshua, when you trust me, things will go well. When I am on your side and fighting for you, I will fight for you, and you're going to have victory. When I am not, or you're not trusting me, then they won't. It doesn't mean Joshua wasn't trusting him at that time. I think God wanted to give him this picture, this understanding, this very real experience. And God wanted him to remember. The key verses are verse 14 through 15. The Lord instructed Moses, write this down. And this down means what just happened. Write down what just happened on a scroll as a permanent reminder and read it aloud to, not the people of Israel, not the leaders or the leadership of whatever, not to yourself. He said, read it aloud to Joshua. Read it specifically aloud to Joshua, what I just did for you. Fear is worrying about the future and believing that God is not in control and not going to be a part of it. Faith is believing that God is in control of the future and he's got it, okay? Now, we build that faith based on what we've seen God do before. That's at least one way we build faith. And God was building Joshua's faith because he knew Joshua would eventually need to lead the people into the promised land. And so it then says in the next verse 15, Moses built an altar there and named it Yahweh Nisi, which means the Lord is my banner. And I told my girls this story this morning. And I said, what's a banner do for you in war? The banner tells you who you are, who you belong to, whose side you're on. The banner also tells you where to go. You follow it. And lastly, the banner is a sign of victory when you plant it on the enemy's side. And I said to them, we all have a banner over our lives. And the banner can say worry. The banner can say fear. But the banner can also say, God is in control. God, I've seen God take care of me before. He's going to continue to. That banner represents who you are. It represents where you go. And it represents the key to your victory. And so they made their banners. This was Tallulah's, Joshua being successful. This was Savannah's, Joshua getting help from the angels. And this was Annabelle's, saying that she is on God's team. So what's your banner look like today? What are you believing in? What is giving you your identity? What direction are you going? And what do you believe is going to give you victory right? Is it going to be the worry and the fear or the self or the money or the promotion or anything like that, right? Yeah, I don't believe so. I believe when God becomes our banner and we see what he's done for us before and we remember it as a permanent reminder and we go forward with God as our banner, that's when we'll have the opposite of fear. We'll have incredible faith and courage to go out there and do whatever he's called us to do. All right, thanks, guys.